I had no responsibility for the 4x4. I mean, I hear a lot, no dealers with the 4x4. I had no involvement in the selection of the team, nor the order in which the athletes were contested, running in, nothing. I had nothing to do with it. I simply was just a messenger that sent out the information as part of the procedure for declaring your team 1 hour from the start of the event, from the call. Hello, and welcome to another in our series, Technique Talk, where we talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about. And today, we will be looking at a review of the JAAA National Junior and Senior Championships that was just concluded. We did a preview of the events for mainly the senior men and women. And today, we'll just look at just some of the events and how the championships went. And I can tell you, wow, it was such a good meet. It was such a great championships. And who would have thought it would have been as good as it was? It was almost like a French foray. That's what it's titled, the French foray. If you know, foray is entering into an enemy territory as a raid. And Jamaicans certainly look like they're about to raid Paris. A foray into France it is for this, the Olympics of 2024, and I must tell you, I had so much fun enjoying the performances of our athletes as they tried to secure for themselves a spot on the Jamaican team, which is a very, very, very difficult team to make. I mean, you wish you were at some other country where you could just easily get a chance to make a team, but there were such great performances, such strong performances, world level type performances that, you know, persons didn't even make the team by securing some really good times, Olympic qualifying performances, but still were outside of the top 3. And that is a tough cookie to swallow. I tell you, it is very difficult just to think of it. The 4th place at Olympic trials is almost like the worst place to finish because you're outside of the top 3, and especially if you have the Olympic qualifying standards, like you go back and like, oh, if only. And of course, we're talking about events outside of the 100 and the 400 because those persons would be possibly part of the relay pools of 4x1 and 4x4. But other individual events, it's like the worst spot to finish 4th. And of course, we still want to celebrate with those athletes who had a great performance. But this meet, this championships, I would think is the meet of the year that we've seen in Kingston. Definitely the best meet we've seen so far in Kingston. And I think it should have been streamed live on YouTube, you know, something like that. We'll probably get 2 million views every day, especially when the 100s were being run. And all those, I mean, it's a meet that has such global importance and interest. All of what was happening in Kingston, everyone was so much interested in knowing and seeing for themselves what was unfolding on the blue track. And here it is. So many good performances. It's so hard for me to choose a performance of the championships. But of course, I would like for you to jump down in the comments and tell us what you think was your performance of the meet, the performance of the championships. Let us know what your thoughts are with respect to that. But in my preview video, I asked the question, are we back yet with the male sprinting? That was one of the questions that we asked in the preview. And did we get an answer? We got for sure an answer from our male sprinters. We are back. We are back. I'm back with some great speed and strength. And that, of course, was a resounding answer from our male sprinters there to that question. And of course, Kishane Thompson, 9.84 seconds in the semifinals, and then produced a 9.77 seconds time in the finals. Age 22, Oblique Seville was second. He had a 9.83 in the semifinals, and then followed that up with a 9.82 in the finals. He is only 22 years old. And then, of course, in 3rd place, as you saw, you watched that, you had it, you were on the edge of your seat for that one. Akeem Blake, at 23 years old, 10.01 in the semifinals and a 9.92 in the finals. Sub 10 performances for the top 3 a huge performance by our male sprinters. And then, of course, what I call the class of 2021. The class of 2021, those athletes that went to that Nairobi World Under 20 Championships in the middle of COVID. Brian Lavelle, 9.98 in the semifinal, and then followed up with a 10.04. He was fourth in that particular event. And then, of course, Sandra Davison at 10.14 in that class of 2021. And he had produced at 10 seconds flat in the meet. So when you think of it, I mean, these guys are really coming through, and some good performances by these guys. Very encouraging, strong by the Jamaicans. And when you check the average age of these guys in the 8 guys in that finals, you know what the average age is? 22.8 years old. 22.8. These are young guys. They have lots of years ahead of them, and a very strong response from the Jamaicans, almost like it's a sound clash. You know, you're watching the US trials, you're watching the Jamaican trials, and the US athletes, you know, like drop a tune, and then the Jamaicans responded with a tune. It was like a soul clash. But tell us, what tune you thought, in your mind, what tune you think the Jamaicans responded with? Just drop it in the comment. What tune did the Jamaicans responded with in terms of the performance of the athletes? If this was a sound clash, so to speak. Let's hear what your comments are. And then, of course, not to be outdone, the women sprinting was also in good form as well. In the 100 meters, again, the class of 2021 was also represented in Tia Clayton. She was second in that 100 meters there in a stunning 10.86 seconds. In the semifinals, she produced that. And then, of course, in the final, she ran a 10.90. Sub-11 performances from Tia Clayton twice in the same evening. That is indeed impressive. And then, of course, Alana Reid was also part of that class of 2021, 11.16 to 11.14 in the finals. She may very well find herself on that Olympic team. And, of course, how about that surge from Sharika Jackson that secured that victory? 10.84 seconds she stopped the clock at, pulling the other 2 ladies to the sub-11 performances, including a Shelly Fraser Price, 10.94 in the finals, 10.91 in the semifinals. Very strong performances, looking confident. Shelly, of course, at 36, makes you ask a question. What were you doing at age 36? Or what do you plan to do at age 36 if you're not there yet? Amazing longevity there by Shelly Fraser Price. And of course, Elaine, not Elaine, but of course we know Elaine did not show up at the championships. But of course, Sharika Jackson, very strong performance. And we look forward to that clash at the Olympics at Paris between the Jamaicans and everybody else, including the Americans. So that's how the women went in the 100. Of course, the women 200, we saw coming through, very encouraging, Naisha Berger, Excelsior Eagle. Of course, we have to root for the Excelsior Eagles coming through after not having an Olympian since 2004. The last would have been Sanjay Ayer. Of course, here Naisha Berger has made it to the Olympic team with her 22.39 seconds for third in the 200-meter women to book her spot and be the first Excelsior Eagle in a long time. And of course, second was Lene Taylor-Thomas. She had 22.34 seconds. And of course, no surprises for Sharika Jackson booking her spot, 22.29 in a plus 1.6 meters per second. Definitely the conveyor belt is activated. Conveyor belt is activated. We are actually producing, and there it is. You can see in action, Dejanay Oakley at 22.66 was also in that finals, and Kevona Davis, part of that group that's coming through to replace the more established athletes in Elaine and Shelly-Ann. Quite a bit of women stepping up, and we'll make sure that we have representation going forward in the 200. Definitely, we're happy to see this kind of conveyor belt happening for us here in Jamaica. Of course, the women's sprint hurdles was also some fireworks, and I mean, I have to say that this has to be My performance of the meet. Akira Nugent, another Excelsior Eagle, go Eagles, 12.28 seconds for a national record in the sprint hurdles. Whoop, whoop. Definitely a great performance, my performance in the meet, and another record to her name. She's been just racking them up. Akira Nugent is, of course, the real deal, I must tell you. Akira, after her race, went to Instagram and made a post and said, find your fire and do whatever it takes, or do whatever it is that wakes you up, whatever it is that makes you feel alive. Do whatever inspires you, what moves you, what makes your heart race. Do the things that ignite passion into your bones. Chase your dreams, follow your heart, capture the moments that take your breath away. Do not settle for mediocrity. You have a fire in your soul and a burning in your heart. Do not let fear, convenience, or comfort put out those flames. Akira Nugent was just so inspiring in her post. And definitely, we're inspired. Akira, thank you. I'll give Akira a hug. Everybody give Akira a hug right now. Of course, Find or Fire. And of course, Daniel Williams was second in 12.53, booking her spot to Paris. And Janique Brown was third in 12.61 for her first Olympics. So quite a few first Olympians here. And that's what we want to see. We want people to see people having a dream, working towards it, realizing their dream, and making the experience great. So this, of course, is a mix of youth and experience going into Paris for this sprint hurdles for women. Sounds like a good plan, if you ask me, this mix that we have here going to Paris. Of course, at 52.51 seconds, Rochelle Clayton certainly have her eyes set on that Melanie Walker national record in the 400 meter hurdles of 52.42. She's just a shave off that record. Guns blazing, on a mission. She's definitely throwing that one down. Rochelle Clayton moving well. Genevieve Russell was second in 53.33 to book her spot, and Cheyenne Salmon at 54.37 to book her ticket to Paris. Of course, Antoinette Knight, having run a 54.09 in the prelims, did repeat it in the finals and found herself fourth place at 54.34. And of course, fourth is just a very hard spot or place to finish at an Olympic trials in an individual event. And that we just have to encourage her as she continues to push towards her own dreams and her own glory. So of course, that was a good race as well. And a strong performance from the Jamaicans. Going into Paris, we have more stuff to be rooting for and shouting for our ladies and all our athletes going to Paris. Of course, the 200 meter men, as we switch to the men in our review, Brian Lavelle, 19.97 seconds, stopping the clock, his first sub 20, and definitely we are so excited for him and for Coach Shanika Osborne, who's been producing and really getting Lavelle to this level. Lavelle, of course, showed great promise years before, and as I mentioned, that class of 2021, he's solid, and definitely seeing him coming through sub 20, joining Andrew Hudson, of course, at 20.02. He was second with the Olympic standard. In third, Javari Thomas didn't make the standard, but of course, Javari is having a great season. 20.32 the time he produced. Of course, the Olympic qualifying is 20.32 his time, but the Olympic qualifying is 20.16 seconds. And of course, that record is held by no other than Usain Bolt. But here it is that Lavelle will be the flag bearer for us, along with Andrew Hudson in the 200 meters for men. In the sprint hurdles, this is just crazy. I mentioned this in our preview, how difficult it is for our men in the sprint hurdles. And of course, this event did not disappoint. Can you imagine taking 5 minutes to determine who the winner of the event is? Orlando Thomas, could not be found. Orlando Bennett, I should say, could not be found in the photo finish. Had to go to the backup camera to find him. 13.18 seconds his time to win that. Well, actually, it was Rashid Broadbell who won. Rashid Broadbell at 13.18 seconds, given the same time as Orlando Bennett, 13.18, and Hansel Parchment running off the top three and the automatic spots to the Olympics, 13.19 seconds his time. So 1.8, 13.18, 13.18, 13.19. Can you imagine? That's like splitting hairs, but you only need to beat the person by 100th of a second, even 1,000th of a second to make the team. And that he did. Tyler Mason, 13.22, the same time as Omar McLeod, 13.22, fourth. Can you imagine you run 13.22 seconds and do not make the Olympic team? That's crazy. Crazy fast, but that's the depth of sprint hurdles in Jamaica. And we just have to live with it. All four gentlemen, well, five gentlemen were below the Olympic standard, but of course only three will get a chance to represent Jamaica at the Olympics. Then of course the discus men had its drama. We had anticipated this. Frederick Dakers was in hunt of the qualifying standard in the discus, which was 67.20 meters. But he was chasing the qualifying standard, the last chance to get it. Dakers was at 64.46, so he did make it, but he was also fourth. So the other three gentlemen who'd come into the trials with the standard already, Travis Michael at 67.08, he booked his spot. Rajay Stoner at 65.29 meters, he booked his spot. And Ralford Mullings at 64.92 meters, he booked his spot. So they had already achieved the standard prior to the championships, so they just came, secured their top three spot in the finals, and they booked their ticket to Paris. So that was a bit of an event, just watching Dakers competing and really the intensity with which those guys carried out their duties there at the discus circle. That was indeed impressive, but of course you have to make it on the day. So of course in the men's 400 meter hurdles, that was also eventful. Malik James King coming through with 47.42, beating Rashawn Clark at 48.04. Both would have achieved the standard. And then right after them, Jaheel Hyde, 48.35 seconds. And Asina Wilson, who probably is just killing himself right now, wishing that he would have dived through the line. He came through at 48.36, so 48.35 for Hyde, 48.36 for Wilson. Didn't see him coming there, but of course he missed out on the Olympics and a ticket to Paris. Asina Wilson, his second year in the event, by the way, so he's made tremendous improvement. Great coaching there by his coaches at Titans. Good job by those coaches in developing him in the hurdles to this level, and we just want to encourage him and the others to keep pressing and pushing towards their glory. Of course, the men's 400 meters was also another event that had quite a bit of drama there. The 400 meter men, you know the story. The top 16 were given a bye from the preliminaries with the hope of them running the 4x4. So of course those men would have gone and had 2 runs instead of the traditional 3 runs, coming through with a massive PB and an impressive run. The 22-year-old DeAndre Watkins, his first time making the Olympics, 44.48, a huge burst of speed down that last 100 meters. Sean Bailey came through at 44.65 seconds. He was second, and of course Javon Powell representing the University of Florida, 44.79 seconds. He stopped the clock. So those 3 guys achieved the Olympic qualifying standard. 1, 2, 3. They were indeed impressive, and they did a huge job. Of course, we were so excited about those performances, just anticipated what would happen for the 4x4, but of course those guys, as you know, did not report for the 4x4 for various reasons, and they've submitted their various reasons. and you can judge for yourself what to take of the 4x4 and those guys. But I must say though, that I had no responsibility for the 4x4. I mean, I hear a lot of stuff being said by people who should know, and they probably don't know. But I actually had no dealings with the 4x4. I had no involvement in the selection of the team, nor the order in which the athletes were contested, running in, nothing. I had nothing to do with it. I simply was just a messenger that sent out the information as part of the procedure for declaring your team 1 hour from the start of the event, from the call of the event. We simply just played a role in sending out the team for the media and individuals to be aware of who was on the team and what Jamaica was attempting to do. So don't shoot the messenger, I was just sending the message. But for the Jamaica gold team, the coach was actually Mark Elliott. The Jamaica green team was Lamar Richards, and the Jamaica black team was Maurice Wilson. So those are the coaches that decided on the teams and the running order. In fact, I was a bit surprised, just like many of you. I only found out of the running order for the relays and the non-performance of some of the other athletes while I was sitting there in the bleachers waiting for the event to go off. I saw some different athletes striding out. I heard the stadium announcer announcing the names that we had actually submitted, but there were some different athletes there because subsequent to that 1 hour declaration, athletes had pulled out. I certainly didn't have any such information. I didn't know. I was a little bit surprised, just like everybody else. So I just want to make it clear that I had no involvement in that. I simply just, as a chairman, the deputy chairman of the Competitions Commission, provided some support to the team in getting activated and so on, but the technical people are the ones, the coaches that decided on those things, so leave me out of it. I think the guys did very well though, they did very well, and like every other Jamaican, we were rooting for them, and came so close but not there, and lots of lessons to learn from this one. We just need to be a little bit more team-centered and team-oriented, but not to take away from the effort. Those guys ran their hearts out, and we felt so good for them, but in the end felt a little bad that we didn't make it, but hey, we bounced back. But thank you for tuning in for our Technique Talk. Keep the conversation going. Make sure you put your comments below. Let us know what you think of the 4x1 lineup, and let us know what you think about the performance of the meet. Let us know what your thoughts are, and we'll continue to interact. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channel, turn notification on so that you can be made aware whenever a new video is uploaded. Thank you for joining us. All the best. Enjoy. Bon voyage.